Good morning, everyone. I'd like to ask those of you who wish to take seats, there's plenty of chairs here for you to take. It's my honor this morning to introduce Governor Terry McAuliffe. Governor McAuliffe works every day to build the new Virginia economy by creating jobs in 21st century industries, such as cybersecurity, biosciences, and advanced manufacturing. And UVA seeks to be a good partner in all of those initiatives. Since the start of his administration, the number of jobs in Virginia has increased by more than 167,000. So far, he's led more than 850 economic development deals that will bring $14.3 billion in capital investment to the Commonwealth in the coming years. That's $5 billion more than any other governor in Virginia history. Virginia's unemployment rate has declined from 5.4% in January 2014 to 4.2% today. That's the second lowest rate among major states. Governor McAuliffe is chairman of the National Governors Association, and he has made cybersecurity his signature initiative as he works to share Virginia's achievements and to position all states and territories to meet the cyber threat. Governor McAuliffe was named the 2016 Bio Governor of the Year by the Biotechnology Innovation Organization. Last year, he won bipartisan support for major investments in education at all levels and for investments in a first-in-the-nation, performance-based workforce development system. He's been a tremendous supporter of Virginia's institutions of higher education, and he fully recognizes the role we play in preparing students to work the jobs of today and to create the jobs of tomorrow. It is my pleasure to introduce the Honorable Terry McAuliffe, the 72nd Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you. Thank you, and good morning, everybody. Honored to be with you. I want to thank President Sullivan. I want to thank UVA. Actually, we've been here now. This is our second day. We are having our whole cabinet up here for a retreat, and yesterday we were at the Batten School of Leadership, and I want to thank everybody who's been involved from the University of Virginia for helping us put that together, and I just want to thank President Sullivan for her tremendous leadership and continuing to make sure those bright minds are learning about cyber and computer science, and we're building that workforce of the 21st century. Today we're going to do a new executive order that I will sign in a few minutes. As you know, this week we have rolled out some of our legislative agenda items that we will present to the General Assembly that will be meeting next week. Earlier in the week, as you know, we had about 650,000 Virginia residents who have had their driver's license suspended because they can't pay their court fines. It seemed to me pretty ridiculous that you take away the driver's license from individuals so they can't drive to work to make money to pay off the court fines. So we've put some common sense legislation, and then just yesterday we rolled out our education workforce development initiatives. We are calling for every student in Virginia, K through 12, that will now have access to a virtual education, now open to every student in the Commonwealth of Virginia. It doesn't matter where you live. You can be in Danville or Martinsville or Northern Virginia. If you want to take Mandarin Chinese, you have the ability now to do that, and we will continue to roll out other initiatives. We are here to announce a very important initiative, something that the Attorney General and I have worked on with our Lieutenant Governor, Ralph Northam, from day one, about keeping Virginia open and welcoming to everyone. As you know, this was an issue that I ran on. Unfortunately, Virginia had had some bad history as it relates to discriminatory legislation and tactics as it relates to members of the LGBT community. We had horrible legislation as it involved women's rights issues. And the three of us have worked from day one to make sure that Virginia is open and welcoming. We will not tolerate any discrimination against anyone. That's why my first act as governor, I signed Executive Order number 1, that there will be no discrimination in the state workforce based upon sexual orientation. And we have continued to lead those efforts. This is something that I talk about constantly, to take these social issues off the table, to make sure we are all working together. As I stand here today, things obviously have changed dramatically, and I want to thank our Attorney General for his great leadership on issues on same-sex marriage, which now is the law of the land that we have here, not only in Virginia, but in the entire United States of America. And What's important for us now is really to take it to the next level. I knew more had to be done. Here we are at the University of Thomas Jefferson, who talked about the values of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we want to make sure that those are not just words, but we here in Virginia are a beacon for those words, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that's something that we strive for every single day. So we are here in this historic site that I'm about to sign a new executive order, which I will sign in a few minutes. My order will first of all say that I'm ordering from today going forward that all future state contracts, that anyone who does business with the state through the executive branch entities now must include a provision in that contract requiring that that contractor agree to a non-discrimination policy that will protect LGBT citizens against any discrimination. This action builds upon Executive Order 1 by extending the same protection that we offer all of our state employees. As of today, that protection will now be extended to the employees of any contractor who is doing business with the Commonwealth of Virginia. Starting today, the Commonwealth of Virginia will not do business with any entity that discriminates based upon sexual orientation or gender identity. I am also directing the Department of General Services and the Virginia Information Technology Agency to develop the appropriate policies and regulations to implement this requirement. The order that I'm signing today also requires that non-discrimination policy in EO1 is clear beyond a shadow of a doubt that Virginia will not tolerate any form of discrimination. That covers discrimination in all hiring decisions for state employees, as well as discrimination in the provision of our public services. Virginia, as you know, is the home of the best workforce in the United States of America. They work hard. They deliver great product for all the folks and citizens of the Commonwealth of Virginia. This policy will now help to make sure that there is no question that all Virginians are to receive the full benefits of their citizenship without regard to sexual orientation or gender identity. In addition to the executive order that I will sign in just a moment, I want to announce my full support for legislation that has been presented now to the General Assembly to repeal Virginia's same-sex marriage ban from our Constitution. The United States Supreme Court has spoken. Same-sex marriage is now the law of the land, and I am very proud that I was the first governor in the South to actually perform a gay marriage. And guess what? The sky did not fall in, and it all worked out. We need to act quickly to remove this vestige of inequality from our founding document. These steps are not only the right thing from a civil rights standpoint, but also very important for our economy. If you need any proof of that, folks, just look to our south, to North Carolina. We've had a lot of discussion about HB2. This is something I talk about constantly. I can tell you I am on the phone constantly with companies in North Carolina who now want to leave North Carolina because of that HB2 legislation. As you know, they lost the NCAA tournaments, the ACC tournaments, CIAA tournaments, have decided they will not go to North Carolina. That has been horrible for business in North Carolina. I was very proud several months ago to stand with the mayor of Richmond, Virginia, to announce that 732 very high-paying jobs that were going to North Carolina had come to Richmond, Virginia, even though North Carolina offered 3 times the incentive package that we offered in the Commonwealth of Virginia. They said, we will not go to a state, and those 732 very high-paying jobs are now in the city of Richmond, Virginia. There are consequences to these discriminatory actions. As you know, in Indiana, another discriminatory bill was passed that has caused similar damage to that state's reputation and the economy. Extreme attacks on LGBT rights are not just wrong. As I say, they are job killers, and we will not tolerate it. As you know, I announced yesterday there was an HB2 bill that has been presented by Delegate Marshall to the General Assembly. I made it very clear yesterday that I will veto that particular piece of legislation. The day before, I announced that I would veto that 20-week abortion ban that had been put forth by 8 members of the House of Delegates. We will not tolerate any attacks on women's rights or LGBT rights here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I am very proud that standing here today, I am 71-0 on vetoes. They have yet to They have yet to override one of my vetoes, and let me be clear, they are not going to be able to override any of my vetoes in this upcoming legislative session. Let us spend this session working together jointly in a bipartisan way to build our economy and focus on those things that voters elected us to do. Create jobs, fix transportation, provide health care, and have the best education system in the world. That is what our legislative session should all be about. Let us stop these socially divisive issues. Do not waste my time. I will veto it, so stop you in your tracks right now. Let us work together. We are the greatest state and the greatest nation on earth, and we need to take it to the next level, and that's what we're going to sign this executive order today. Speaking of the greatest state and the greatest nation, I would now like to introduce the greatest Attorney General in the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia, our great Attorney General, who has been a great leader on not only this issue, but all of the issues that I talked about. He has been a great partner of mine as we've created jobs and built the new Virginia economy. The greatest Attorney General in the history of the United States of America, Attorney General Mark Herring.
Well, thank you, Governor, for that introduction, but more importantly, thank you for your leadership. Good morning, everyone. It is great to be back on grounds. This is really a great day for equality in Virginia. Obviously, the fight for marriage equality has been a big part of my first term as Attorney General. And along the way, I got to know some extraordinary men and women who have lived that fight for decades. And I gained an even deeper appreciation for the importance of equality and of the messages that we send as a state with our policies. LGBT Virginians do not want special privileges or special treatment. They just want to be treated equally and fairly like everybody else. And that is what our Constitution guarantees them and guarantees all of us. That we won't benefit or suffer on account of what we look like, where we come from, how we worship, or whom we love. And we are all going to be judged on our ability and our character. And that goes for the men, women, and businesses that provide our Commonwealth with goods and services. And the words and the actions and the signals of institutions and elected officials really matters. They really make a difference. A few years ago, I remember hearing from a young man who grew up in Southwest Virginia. And while he was too young to vote in that election, he did go to the polls with his mom when Virginia's marriage ban was on the ballot. And he knew he was gay, but he hadn't told anyone, and he remembered exactly how it made him feel driving to the polls with his mother with that on the ballot, and then how he felt later when the measure passed, and what it felt like to be rejected in that way, and how it made him feel more ashamed and more forced into hiding who he was. I heard from parents of all walks of life who have gay and lesbian sons and daughters, and they told me that on the day I announced that Virginia was joining the fight for marriage equality, that their sons and daughters called them in tears because of what it meant to have someone standing up fighting for them. If we are going to have the economic future we want, we have to send a clear and inclusive message about what we value, about whom we value, and what sort of treatment, respect, and opportunities talented people will find in Virginia. Those messages matter. And we need people of conviction in Virginia, from the governor on down, who stand up and say no to things like North Carolina-style bathroom bills or measures that attack women's rights because they're harmful to our citizens and they're bad for business. I really appreciate Governor McAuliffe taking this big step to make sure that Virginia is setting the right example. And in many ways, we are also embracing a common sense step that so many private sector businesses have already taken on, and that they increasingly expect from states in which they choose to locate and do business. So, Governor McAuliffe, again, I thank you for your leadership, and I commend you on this historic step for equality in Virginia.